And now it's actually time for my talk. So it's like I have to introduce myself. What? How do I do this? I didn't think this through. I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of my experience with art and design in a way that's very much, I'm doing it again with the puns that aren't intentional, very much hands-on, where I have experienced something and I get to wear it every single day and what an impact that has on me. So I'm going to start by telling you my sort of story. So when I was born, I was completely fine, happy, healthy, normal baby, had all 4 limbs. Everything was looking good. There weren't any sort of signals that anything was about to go terribly wrong. And then when I was 15 months old, I fell really ill with a disease called meningococcal septicemia strain B, which is quite a mouthful. It took me a while to learn how to spell that when I was trying to raise awareness for it. But I was 15 months old at the time, and the moment that my family discovered I had that disease was due to the rash, and it's like sort of a blood poisoning, you know, like you get with old age, the dark blood spots underneath the skin. It was sort of like that, and it was appearing on my skin like rain hitting a puddle, basically. And that is the last symptom you often get before the absolute worst, before it's too late, and next step is death, basically. So I was rushed to the hospital, and I got there were like, God, so many paramedics waiting just to take me under. I was really, really small at the time, obviously, so there were all these people cutting off clothes, sticking tubes everywhere, trying to sort me out, and it was the worst case they'd ever seen. I was given 0% chance of survival, to the point where they literally came to my family and they came to my mom and said, listen, we can't tell you she's going to make it. We don't think she will. We'll try, but please, for the love of God, don't get your hopes up right now because it's not looking good, basically. And every single time that somebody would walk past, my mom would feel sick to her stomach because, you know, this is the person who can tell me whether we're going to keep the life support on or we're going to give up on her. But obviously I'm here today, so it was the better option. It was after 1 week in intensive care, 3 weeks in recovery, a secondary infection, which I then contracted, just to make it better, and 10 blood transfusions that somehow I managed to pull through. I survived against the odds, and I'm able to be here speaking at Future Port Youth here today. And pretty much right away, they were like, yeah, she's going to be able to live, and that was the best news ever. But the septicemia had well and truly killed off my hands. Like, it's a blood poisoning where my hands from like the wrist up were like purple, scabbed over like a claw almost, and they were just really dead. There was no saving them at that point. So they said, yeah, she survived, but we're going to have to amputate the hands. So at the time, you accept that because live without hands or live. I mean, don't live or die. And that's never the option that I wanted to have. So when I went in to get my hands amputated, my mum basically made me a promise, and she just said to me she would do everything in her power to try and give me my hands back again. So that's why right away we got into prosthetics. And the first prosthetic hand I had, I think I was literally 3 years old, so tiny. And there wasn't even any technology in this prosthetic. So what it was, I wish I could have it here to show you, but it was a tube to put your arm in, and then it had kind of 3 prongs tied together by elastic bands, and they were acting as sort of the fingers. And then a finger would move like left and right from the thumb, and that would create a sort of pinching motion, and that was the best we had at the time. And then obviously that didn't help me very much. I started to go private with a prosthetic arm, and I really had to fight for a hand that would even move. I became the youngest child in the UK to receive a myoelectric arm, which is basically a hand that will operate like that. But the thing is, it moved really, really slowly, and it didn't open wide enough even to hold a cup. At the time then, I knew all the focus was going into the aesthetics of the arm and how they looked. And how they looked was incredibly realistic at this point. Like high definition silicone, there were freckles, there were wrinkles, there were nails you could paint. They were actually based off of my older sister's hands because sisters are said to have similar hands. They really put a lot of thought into how the hand was gonna look in an attempt to make me blend in as much as possible. So it wasn't like I'd ever lost my hands at all. It wasn't like I was any different. It was to mask that anything had happened at all. And what got me was the fact that even before this, I was always being offered a glove. And I feel like ever since the age of maybe 6 years old, it's taken a bit of a mental toll because everybody in the prosthetic industry has constantly been saying, you have to look like everybody else just so you can have a normal life. And they never actually stopped to ask the user or the limb different person what they wanted. And that was the thing. I felt like I was always sort of hiding behind this mask. That didn't help me at the end of the day. It was more of a hindrance. But I was really still interested in prosthetics, and I really wanted to make sure there was something out there, like there's got to be something better. That's all I kept telling myself at the time. So we were forced to take a break for a little bit while technology sort of developed with time. And then when I was 9 years old, I came across the company I work with now. They're called Bionics, and they make these bionic arms. And what really intrigued me and brought me into them was the fact that at the time they were collaborating with Disney and Marvel. They were making Elsa from Frozen arms. They were making Iron Man arms. And for me as a 9-year-old girl, I was super excited by that. I was like, I want arms that can light up. Why has this never been a thing before? And it's because everybody assumed that everybody just wants to fit in, and they never actually asked, what do you want in this hand? That's the first thing Open Bionics did. And now all I try to do is really take away this stigma from prosthetics. It was always something to try and mask something and make you appear more normal, to the point where they were so focused on that even the functionality was so limited by so many layers of silicone, and trying to make it as real as possible. It actually really hindered it a lot more, and it was very, very restrictive. And now we've let go of all the silicone, we let go of all the layers trying to make it look more natural and blend in. Now they're 3D printed. Like, look at this, that doesn't look like your average human hand. But I can tell you right now, it looks a hell of a lot better than what I was wearing before, which was intended to make other people more comfortable. Because we talk about this a lot in technology, the concept of uncanny valley. And then I know I have no hands, I know I have prosthetic hands, but I'd still get a fright when I opened the drawer and seen this realistic looking hand there. It's horrible, like it was scary, and it was scary for me, and it was scary for everybody who didn't know the situation. I always felt stares in the crowd, and like whenever I was outside, you'd always get stared at a lot, but it was always a look of sort of sympathy, like, I'm really sorry that happened to you, and they're seeing me wearing this sort of glove more than a prosthetic, and they're thinking, oh wow, she just wants to have a normal life, she's struggling so hard, and man, that's so sad, how is she even living right now, she must be so sad. And that was never really the case, but all they're seeing is this little girl who's been given something to try and change who she is. Now, when I wear these bionic arms, I still get loads of stares out and about, but it's totally flipped on its head now, because people aren't looking and going, wow, that's so sad, she must have a hard life. They're looking and going, wow, that's so cool, where can I get my own? And that's the difference, Like, I've had little kids stop me in the street and be like, Mom, I want that for Christmas. And like, you wouldn't get that before. It's absolutely crazy. And what's even more insane is that all the companies ever needed to do was to ask, rather than falling into this stereotype and assuming what people want to look like to be normal. All they had to do was ask. And that's the first thing Open Bionics did. They said, okay, sit everyone down, design me your dream arm right now. And you may or may not be surprised to know that not one person drew a realistic looking hand. So Open Bionics are really the forefront and the leaders of design for cyborg enhancements, bionic arms and things, in a way that they're so much more functional now, because they're not hiding behind all these layers and trying to do something to make them look like what they're not. But also, it's not only just accepting that difference now, but it's accentuating it in a really beautiful light. I can go on and on about the physical benefits of a medical device and prosthetics, but what stood out more to me is the mental benefits. Being told your whole life you're not allowed to look a certain way, and then being able to come out here and cover it in glitter. That is a huge difference, you know? So I'm super proud to be working for this company now. I'm their main ambassador. We're working on Heroin 2 now, and the design and everything. People don't realize how empowering design and art can be, and I'm just so grateful that I've got to experience that, and it's now opened the eyes for all these other kids who've been told the same thing. Like, they're seeing me now, and they're seeing kids with Iron Man arms, and they're like, yeah, you know what, it doesn't have to be that way. So that's what I do. I always match my hand to my outfit just for fun, because what's stopping you, you know? I love design, and it's one of the most exciting aspects of the future, if you ask me. Thank you.